We are going to be working with transitions today, so you'll click this little blue and light blue triangular looking box thing over here. That's going to open up your transitions panels. Transitions just make everything a little bit smoother when it's going from clip to clip. You don't want to overuse transitions because then it becomes distracting, but having a few in there every now and then is really nice. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to locate the still image of the bird and the video clip of the penguin. And this is probably the one you're going to use the most. It's called a cross dissolve, where it just basically fades from one clip to the other. So we're going to click and hold, and we're going to drag this, and we're going to put it right in between the bird and the penguin. So when you drop it there, you're going to get this little window that opens up. And it says duration 1 second, which is fine. Well, actually it says that we need to make the time longer. So it tells us to actually make it 2 seconds. So we'll make it 2 seconds. But then you also want to click this more button, and you want to make sure that it's centered at the cut right here. You don't want it to be start at the cut or end at the cut. You want it center at cut. So then you can click apply. So that applies it there. We're going to do another cross dissolve between the last skateboarder and the still image of the boat. And again, we're going to set that one at 2 seconds. So we'll put that right in here. Again, make sure it's centered, and we'll make it 2 seconds. We'll click apply. And then we are going to add a dip to white at the very beginning of the movie. So dip to white is right here. So if I click and hold and drag this, and put the dip to white at the very beginning. And we just need that one to be 1 second long. Now you can't center this one because it's at the very front of the clip. So it's just going to be start at cut. So we'll click apply. And then we're going to put a 2 second long dip to black at the very end of the movie. So we'll do dip to black. We will drag that over here, drop it on the end. We'll do 2 seconds. And again, see how it says end at cut because it's the last clip. So we'll click apply. So now we have all of that done. We're going to go ahead and render real quick. At this point, we need to start saving frequently because the more transitions and the more stuff we add to it, our project is going to be using more and more RAM of our computer. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a title. So we are going to add a opening title at the beginning. So if we click on this T right here, that's our text tools. Now by default, it'll have motion titles selected, but we're going to go up here and we're going to go to classic titles and just do general. And for the beginning, we're just going to use a default text. So we'll click right here on default text, and we are going to click and hold, and we're going to drag it. Except this time, instead of putting it on video 1, we're going to put it actually here on video 2. And so just like in Photoshop, this works in layers. So whatever's on the top is what's going to be shown. Now you have a couple different tool options over here. You've got your text mode, which is just your basic one. So if you put it right there, you can actually highlight everything and delete it and type whatever you want. You've got this little cursor looking icon. So if you click on the cursor, now you can actually move where that text is around. You can align it vertically. You can align it horizontally. You can make your text centered. You can adjust the size of your text. You can adjust the font of your text. You can adjust the text style. You can even add animations onto your text. Now, one thing to note about animations is that you can only put an animation on a text if it's all on one line. If it's on multiple lines, then you can't do an animation to it. But for this one, we're not going to add an animation anyway, so that's not going to matter. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get our text tool back. We're going to highlight our text, and we are going to title this project The Trip Down Under. Now it will probably go off the page. That is completely fine, but we're going to push enter, and we're going to go down to the next line, and we're going to put by, and then you'll put your name there. Now we're going to highlight everything, and we're going to select the font type Popular Standard. Just like that. We're going to change the size to 80 for the Trip Down Under. So we'll highlight just the Trip Down Under part. We'll make the size 80. And then we're going to make your name 45. And so it should appear like that. Now, one thing you probably will want to do, I always like to center it. I think it looks good, and then make sure it's aligned horizontally and vertically. Now you'll next want to choose a text style so that it has some contrast. I usually like to do like birch white right here. So if you click that, now it's kind of, let's see. Now it's kind of got like a black border around it, because after that dip to white, it's going to be contrasty with the background. So we've got that there, but it kind of changed the size of everything. So we need to go back and we need to highlight this part again, and we need to make that 80. And then we also need to change it, because it changed it to Birch Standard instead of Popular Standard, because we changed the style. So we're going to have to change that back to Popular Standard. All right, so there we go. So now we have that black outline around it, and then the text is white. It makes it a little easier to read. And if you want to get back to your text, you can just double click on the text here. And then I'm going to just make sure that this is 45. And yes, it is. Okay, and so everything looks good now. Now, the next thing we want to do is we're going to add some rolling credits at the end. So if we go to our text tool again, underneath default text, you'll see default rule. So again, you're just going to click and hold that. And this time you're going to drag it to the end. And you'll have to put your playhead over it to actually see it. Uh-oh. Did it freeze? Maybe getting to the point where it's starting to crash here. Oh, there we go. Okay. And so you will want to you're going to change the credits to match the picture. So what we'll do, come on now. Okay, we're going to highlight all this, and we're going to put starring. Again, make sure you align it in the center. Oh, nope. Undo what I just did. Okay. Oh, I think it undid too many times. It's trying to catch up to where I am. Okay, so starring. And then we're going to put camera. And actually what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight everything. We're just going to delete it. And then we're going to put camera, Arnie Adams, editing. You'll put your name there. And then music, AMB drive. All right, and so the last thing we're going to do is make sure that that's centered. And then we're just going to, come on, align. Give me 1 second. And there we go, it centered it. And we need our default roll to be a little slower, so we're done with this over here. We don't need to make any adjustments. But what we can do is we can drag this default roll so it's a little bit longer, and when that happens, it actually makes it go slower. And I've got so many effects now that my computer's probably not going to really like working with recording my screen and using Premiere. But that is the end. So you're going to drag this default roll so that it lines up perfectly right here with the beginning of this transition. And then that should be enough. You can drag it a little bit more if you need it to go longer. But that should be good enough to just drag it there. And then it should go pretty much good enough. So again, we want to make sure and render, and then just do Command S to save. Come on now. Okay, Command S to save, and that is the end of day 4.